Okay, I'd like to show you something today. This is a very special instrument. It's a Martin guitar that's a quadruple O. A quadruple O is a little bit larger than a triple O. So I think most of us have heard of a triple O guitar. Eric Clapton's guitar, his famous guitar, is a triple O guitar. And basically it's 15 inches across the bout when you measure it. And about 4 inches in terms of the depth. But this is a quadruple O. It's almost 16 inches. It's 15 3/4, and it's 4 inches in the depth. So it's just a little bit bigger, almost the size of a jumbo, really. The difference is the body shape and the depth of this guitar being 4 inches. So there's this big question that's looming, and you probably saw it when you clicked on this. Should you buy an instrument that has a crack in it? Well, that really depends. It depends on if that crack, first of all, where it's at, and whether or not it's already been repaired and who repaired it. Because if you buy an instrument that's been cracked, that's having, you can tell it's something, you can hear something wrong, or it just doesn't look right, or the face of the guitar looks warped, and you could tell that perhaps it wasn't made correctly or hasn't fixed correctly. That guitar could be problems, and it'll interfere with the way it sounds in the future. But if that crack has been correctly repaired, I don't think it makes any difference. What the difference will be is that your pocketbook, because you'll be able to buy an instrument that has had a repair, and as long as that repair has been good, it's going to play for years as good as it was the day it was new. I hope that makes sense. Well, let me show you something before we talk a little bit about this guitar. I'm going to set this down here, and I have here a very small guitar. The sound is a little more woody, a little more boxy, but this is a parlor size guitar. It's only 12 inches across the bout, and it's 4 inches again here. But this guitar was made by me. I made this guitar, and I made it, I just retired. I worked in hospitals, and when I retired, the one thing that I had on my bucket list was that I really wanted to build my own guitar. I wanted to know what that was all about. And I also wanted to learn how to repair guitars and restore things towards what would be normal for that guitar to make it playable again. Especially because when I would repair a guitar, a lot of times I would give that to a child that maybe couldn't afford one. But this one I made at a school, and while I was making it, I had the back and the sides, which are Indian rosewood, all ready to go, and my top, which is a redwood top. And redwood is known, when you're working with it, it splinters, it's brittle, it's just not an easy wood to work with. But once you get it on there, it's the most wonderful sounding wood. It's beautiful, really. So this, as I was working with this, I was getting ready. I had the body, in a mold all ready to go to put the top on. Had to get that top glued on. It was so exciting. And as I was putting it on, I must have put a little too much pressure, because I snapped it right here. And I was so upset. I thought, oh my goodness, all that work, getting those braces ready, doing all that sanding that you sand forever. And here I broke the thing, and the luthier that was teaching me came over and said, well, wait a second. I said, oh, I'm just going to have to start all over again. We'll have to throw that away. He said, no way, you don't have to throw that away. He said, one thing you have to learn, if it's wood, you can fix it. And so that always stuck with me, that if it's wood, you can fix it. And it's true. And so when you're buying a guitar, if it has a crack in it, hey, if it's a good price, if it's wood, you can fix it. And in most cases, you can fix it. Now, it really does depend on where it's at. If you have a crack that's on the headstock or on the neck, if it goes all the way through, I would caution you. I mean, if it's snapped off, it's not that it can't be fixed. It can be. But it could interfere in the future with how that neck sounds. But I've seen a few neck repairs, and you couldn't tell it when you're playing the guitar. So I'm not saying that you can't get a guitar that has a neck repair, or that you can't fix that. You can. But if I was out buying a guitar, I probably would leave that one alone. In this case, I went to a store in Nashville, and the name of the store was called Fanny's House of Music. And if you ever get a chance, and you're in Nashville, there's like 3 stores you really have to visit. And Fanny's House of Music was one of them. And she just, the woman that owns that place is just a very wonderful lady. She's very generous, helpful, just a wonderful person. And her guitar store is filled with a lot of used instruments. Many of them are vintage. And so when I walked in, I love vintage instruments. Now, this is not vintage. This is 2009, I believe. But in any case, I saw it there, and it just, for some reason, it just caught my eye, and I picked it up. It was the very first instrument I picked up. And I started playing it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It sounded beautiful. And I just fell in love with it. It was the first guitar I picked up. Now, I put it down and I tried a million other guitars in that place. Well, not a million, but you know what I mean. I played everything I could get my hands on. But I just couldn't get away from this one, because here is a guitar that almost looks jumbo, that when I picked it up and put my arm around it, I actually was comfortable. And I think it's because of the shape and the way that the waist, fit on my knee. And also the width of this, because it wasn't a 5-inch or a 4.5-inch coming out this way. It's so comfortable. It's just a really awesome guitar. But the sound, it's just beautiful. It just rings out, has sustained forever. It's just an awesome instrument. Listen to that. So, I began to look at the guitar, and when you're going to buy, you really need to take a look at the neck. Make sure it's not separating from the body. Also, look to see if it was reset. You'll want to look at the bridge to make sure it's not pulling away from the top. You'll see it. You can take a piece of paper, and if it fits underneath there, it's pulling away from the top, and that needs to be repaired because it'll interfere with your action. So I take a look at the action, and if I have a little gauge with me, I'll actually measure it to see where it's at. Check to see, how straight the neck is, and you can do that by pressing down the 1st fret, pressing down the 12th fret, and seeing if that string has any major gaps or doesn't move at all. There should be just a little bit of relief. So anyways, there's just some things you might want to look at when you're looking at it. But when I looked, I saw this crack right here. There's a crack. But I also saw that it was repaired. And I also had to keep in mind that I have fallen in love with this guitar, the way it plays, the way it sounds. And here I have a guitar that has a repaired crack. So the big question is, should I buy it with that crack? So my next question was, well, how well has it been repaired? So I pressed on it to see if there was any separation. There's no change. I put a flashlight from my phone down there to see if I could see any light gleaming through. And if I did, you know, perhaps it wasn't glued well. I had a question about whether or not it was fixed and whether they cleated it, which is kind of a nice thing to do with this lengthy crack, because with these little cleats, they're little strips of wood, just very small. You can keep it from separating again with humidity and weather changes. So I didn't get the answer on the cleat until I got home, and it wasn't cleated, but so I did that myself. But the fix is beautiful, and when you look at it, it's real smooth. I mean, it's just went back together. It's awesome. They did an awesome job on it. And this is an awesome guitar. And so when we started talking price, I was able to, because of that crack, get it for about 35% less than what I would have paid for one if I found one that didn't have any damage whatsoever, or any history of damage like this one. So yes, if you see one with a crack, if it plays well, it can be fixed. If it's been fixed, just, you know, kind of take a look at it and see if it looks like it's been fixed well. And if it's been fixed well and it plays well, I would get it, because you're going to save money in your pocketbook. This guitar is a quadruple O, as I stated. It has scallop braces. It has rosewood back and sides, an alpine spruce top, ebony fingerboard, and you know, we're looking at the width of the nut at 1 11/16, which I really like because it's slim and I can reach my hand around it. It's just a great guitar, and it's signed by Steve Earle and Matt Umanoff. Steve Earle is a singer-songwriter back in the 80s, 70s, and Matt is known as a historian for vintage guitars. He did a lot of repairs and restoration of vintage guitars. He still, I believe, still owns and operates a store in New York, and this one has the New York label on it. And he also signed the label on this, and the label inside from Martin Guitars is also numbered number 70. So there you have it. Would I buy a guitar that had a crack in it? Yes, I would. But it all depends. 1, was it repaired well? 2, where's it at? And 3, do you like the way it plays? Does it sound good? If that's the case, save some money.